do not harass witnesses or anyone in this case. And that's going to be extremely crucial,
Right.
extremely crucial. And you really have to, at that point, watch what you say.
Real life.
It ain't real life. Just ain't real life street stars. You know what time it is.
Real life street stars. Man, we had to get him back. The real life lawyer, Larry. Man, first of all, Larry, tell us how we can get in contact with you. The viewers want to know how they can follow you. And
Well, they can follow me on Tailor Made Conversations on YouTube, Real Life Lawyer, pretty much on everything else, Instagram, Twitter, also on what's TikTok? It's back. I forgot about that. TikTok is back,
right.
and so you can follow me on TikTok, and then also Larry Taylor II on Instagram.
So we're back to do the update case on Yella Beezy. So updated, he has been released from jail now, right?
He's free
So we
with
have
conditions.
right with conditions. So we just want to go talk to you, ask you a couple questions about this.
Now let's go.
All right, who do you think is the star witness?
That's interesting. That's real interesting because they said that it was a conversation about money in which Yellow Beezy was in the room at the time that this conversation went down. And so it could be almost anybody. I don't really know who's in this crew, male or female, who may have been there at that time, but they said there was a discussion about money. But it was real vague. So it wasn't specific enough to say that the money was for a hit on Mo, but somehow the two are connected.
Right. Do you think that the shooter is snitching on him? Do you think that's what it is? Or?
You know what? It really didn't sound like that. It really,
Right.
because, I mean, listen, if I'm the shooter and I'm calling asking about money, right? And the person who is evidently this witness that the state has
Mm-hmm.
was with Yellow or in the room, in one of the rooms. It doesn't sound they because they made it seem like they said it. They overheard the conversation, not that they were part of the conversation. The shooter is not going to be a bystander in the conversation. They want their money,
Right.
right? So I'm not really leaning that way right now. Now, let me say this, clean this up. Now, could this person who overheard the conversation give the state enough to where they put enough pressure on the shooter in order to testify or to come forward? Maybe that's always a possibility. But as of right now, it didn't sound like that during the bond hearing.
Do you see the feds getting involved?
You never know. I mean, they kind of have their foot in the water already. You have the one defendant, if not both defendants, currently in federal detention centers on a, other charges.
Right.
So you just never know if that could play a role. Um, there's always that wheeling and dealing between the state and the feds as far as do you have evidence that can bring forth a case that will benefit both agencies? Or do you have enough information that will benefit this agency and be awarded uh, benefits for either time or in consideration of your current case?
Right. Is there any way that you think that they could be building like a RICO or anything? Is that something that could be happening?
I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, just the sheer fact that a telephone conversation was had in order to discuss the criminal activities is basically serving it up right now for a RICO.
Do you think Yella Beezy knew this was coming? Is there any way he could have got tipped off that he was gonna be arrested, or like, do you think that he knew that? Like,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Not even just committing a crime. Anytime anybody does anything that they know they shouldn't, they always have that feeling in the back of their mind that somehow is going to come to light.
Right.
And when you commit murder or murder for hire, I mean, that has to be constantly on the back of your mind, especially when there's other people involved. So I can't remember, you had a guest on your show who always talked about they did everything by themselves and they weren't telling on themselves.
Right.
So if they did it by themselves, you kind of have more control over what may happen or what could happen,
Right.
and have an idea of what is happening. But when you have multiple people and potentially multiple people involved, it's very hard for you to understand and know where the authorities might come from.
Right. Do you think there's more like video angles than the one that they showed at the trial?
Man, that was pretty good. At the, I'm gonna correct you, hearing.
Hearing,
It was
yeah,
it was a
hearing.
hearing. Because I don't want the viewers to jump on you because you keep
Right,
saying,
right,
because
right.
they
Try.
jump on me too.
Right,
So
Hearing.
yeah, they jump on me too. But it's welcome. It's welcome. I always enjoy the comments, even the ones who aren't as favorable or nice. It gives me a chuckle, and so I just thank people for watching. But as far as that's concerned, um, man, it's interesting. That hearing was a real interesting hearing.
Right. So like the videos, I mean, you think there's any more like
I you just never know. That part of 35, uh, there is, just depending on what point, cross point.
because it seemed like the video was coming from the truck. I
It
wanna
was
say.
coming
Yeah,
from the
right,
truck. It
right,
was, they said it was a Kroger truck.
right.
So it's coming from a Kroger truck, but it looks like it was either right past or close to the entrance ramp on the HOV lane. And I do believe there's a camera on that, uh, on that, in that area on one of those beams. And so there could be another angle. But the interesting thing too is, let's say the shooter took off his mask
Right.
at any point during that ride and he stayed on the freeway. Depending on where he went on that freeway, there are cameras up and down these freeways.
Right.
They could have potentially gotten a good shot of his face.
Why does Yella Beezy get a reduced bond?
I mean, I said it last time. Constitutionally, you can't keep someone in jail. Um, you can't prejudice someone by a lack of funds and setting funds or setting a bond outside of what they can pay. That was all part of that federal lawsuit that the prosecutor talked about, because you had people in other states on traffic tickets in which bonds were set that kept them in jail, causing people to lose their jobs, in some cases, causing issues with women or men who had children at home, uh, not being able to get back home and take care of them. So it created a quagmire of problems. And so uh, the law is basically set to set a bond that is reasonable,
Right.
right? Based on both the crime and what that individual is capable of doing.
When someone's a prosecutor, could this be personal? Like ever? Like the way he's talking, it seems like, it just gets very personal. Like it's jabs. It's, So what do you say to that? Like about prosecutors talk, like
I mean,
he should not be out, and he's dangerous to this community. All that. Like,
that's just the script.
okay.
That's just the script. That's all prosecutors going to say that. Because in order to keep someone behind bars or to keep the bond high, you have to demonstrate that they're a danger to society, that they have the means to pay this bond, and that they're a flight risk. And those are all the things that the prosecutor tried to lay out. He tried to say because Beezy is known throughout the nation, that he has ties that can help him maneuver and move around, possibly undetected. He also has the monies in order to pay people
Right.
to help him move around so that he is not able to be detected. And so all of those things, and because it's an ongoing, allegedly an ongoing feud between two different camps, that him being out on the street poses a danger. And more, and the last part of that is kind of what the judge at the very end cautioned him of. Do not harass witnesses or anyone in this case. And that's going to be extremely crucial.
Right.
Extremely crucial. And you really have to, at that point, watch what you say. And so, for those who are watching, let's just say he's having a conversation with someone who's close to him, someone who loves him. And he says, man, I think so and so did this and so is doing this. And, you know, my attorney's got to find out. Well, this person is a hothead. And what does he do?
He gets activated.
Yeah. And next day later, he goes out there and he's harassing or talking to and doing things that could potentially hurt Beezy. And so you have to be very cautious. At this point, he's going to have to be very, and I said this before, he's going to have to be very cautious about who he talks to about his case, and really shouldn't be talking to anyone, but he should, other than his attorney. But he's going to have to be very careful about that at this point, because someone else's actions could very well put him back behind bars.
Him having a bulletproof car, does that help, hurt him?
You know, it was a scare tactic, and I always hated this part of criminal cases, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, I drive a car. I have a car, and it has oversized Fuji autos on it, right?
Right.
And it looks like a car you might see in a rap video. But that's kind of my toy. That's my car. That's my culture, right? It's not anything outside the norm. But if you're visiting the culture from the outside and you wanted to paint a picture of me, you could say, "Oh, this dude, you know, he's a lawyer, but he's hood because he drives this
Right.
particular car and it has this particular rims, and we see it on videos, and so because of that, he's a danger because he subscribes to this particular culture." No, dude, that's just what I like, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't downplay people for liking caviar, right? Like, you hate the ocean,
Right.
right? And so you can spin things on someone just because you're not a part of it, because you don't understand it, or you have a little bit of knowledge about it, and you try to characterize everyone uh, who subscribes to that culture in the same box. And a bulletproof vehicle, the man just got shot,
Right.
and so I think the new Tesla is bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
So if he had
That's
bought that,
facts.
right? So is everyone in Highland Park that drives one of those, are they a flight risk and a danger to society because they drive a bulletproof vehicle?
That is very
No,
true.
that's not. That's why I think Judge Lewis didn't really fall for that.
Does it help that I mean, when the bystander is shot on the freeway, what is his rights in the case like?
He's a victim.
Right.
He's a victim. He's a victim in the case because I mean, just think about it. If you and I are sitting right here doing this interview and someone throws a rock through the window trying to hit someone else and we get injured, we had nothing to do with that. And what it does is shows the level of danger posed by these individuals and what they're willing to do in order to get at each other.
Do you think he'll testify?
By all means, he's gonna testify.
Right. So
Let's
he
do-
probably seen something that he probably knows more.
He could very well be asked to identify the shooter. He could very well be asked to do that. And so, I mean, this guy, they said he was a neurosurgeon. And so that's someone highly educated, someone who pays attention to detail. So that person is very much going to be someone I believe will end up testifying.
With that being said, because that was my follow-up question, they said that he's a neurosurgeon.
Mm-hmm.
Does that also play a role if it affected his ability to work, his
Oh.
standing in the community? Anything
By all
like
means.
that?
By all means. Anytime that you do anything that harms someone, that causes that has a permanent effect, it goes to basically, um, how should I say it, makes that particular crime or makes that particular issue more grave. So, say for example, you and I get into a car wreck. I'm gonna say you hit me because I want to get paid, but at the same time, you hit me and I'm fine. I get out the car. I might have some soft tissue damage, and with a little treatment and some pain meds, in a couple of months, I'm fine. But if I lose a limb, a jury is going to see that different, right? Someone who's able to walk away and someone now who has to have a prosthetic is viewed very differently.
Um, is the evidence weak?
I think so right now. I think so right now. They did a grand jury referral, so that means that the police department basically put together some information and presented it to a grand jury and allowed the grand jury to make the decision to move forward with the prosecution of it. And it's one of the things that is done to kind of cover law enforcement in the sense that, hey, we're not going to make the call on this. We're going to let the citizens make the call on this. But the danger with that is always the fact that if you're a police officer or you're in law enforcement and you bring something to the average citizen saying we believe or it could have been a crime committed, the average person is probably going to say a crime was committed because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have brought it to me. And it's really hard to explain to a layperson that this is just something that we're bringing to you for you to make the decision. We're not saying it is or it isn't, versus them actually taking something to the grand jury, seeking an indictment. They have what they call that PC affidavit, probable cause affidavit, that they talked about, that they had in the other two cases, in the other two shooters cases, but they didn't have one for Beezy. And so that was something that was interesting as well. And that's one of the reasons why I think the judge did what she did.
Right. When Yella Beezy's grandmother took the stage, what did that do for him?
I think that was a baller move. I think that was a baller move. Number one, she was well spoken and she was very gangster. Um, she wouldn't let the prosecutor twist her words. As some people say, she stood on business. But more importantly, you think about it. Judge Lewis is a retired judge who served on the bench in Dallas County for years. And so you bring in someone, a clerk, who most likely has been known or is known in that court,
Right.
and who may have known, or Judge Lewis may have known of, and may had a great reputation. A woman who came to work, a woman who was God fearing, a woman who didn't get in trouble. And so when you take that into account, that basically screamed that if this woman is involved, that she's going to help keep her grandson in check and monitor this situation, because she understands that if he gets out of line, what could happen to him. And so that plays a huge role in criminal defense. Um, a lot of times, it's not even just the evidence; it's the people involved.
Mm.
It's who are your handlers. If you have someone that a judge knows, hey, look, this attorney's been in front of me 1,000 times. They've never had a client that jumped bond. They never had a client that violated. They didn't have a client that do this. So consequently, when this attorney comes into court and asks for something, a judge can basically rubber stamp it with approval because she has or he has a history with this individual that validates what they're saying. So young attorneys, look, people, they stop watching them TV shows, man, like Suits and all that other stuff, and people be talking slick and doing stuff under the cover. Uh, you get away with that for a while, but once your reputation gets out, and it's a bad reputation, it harms both you and your client. If you have a great reputation, it works in your benefit.
So let's talk about the judge. What are we dealing with here?
Judge Lewis is a very no nonsense judge. Um, these rulings are going to be tough. So the defense attorney, Toby, is a long-standing defense attorney here in Dallas, and he's someone who knows how to navigate the system. But it's going to be very, very tough on this because it's murder and it's guns involved, and you got a neurosurgeon that was injured, and so Judge Lewis is going to be paying attention very closely to this case. Excuse me. And so at this point, it's going to be imperative um, that the defense really jumps on any new evidence that comes forward or um, tries to minimize it, because if it gets to the point where it looks bad, they're going to have a hard time controlling and winning these rulings and hearings to benefit Beezy.
Will this be televised, this trial?
I believe so. I mean, they've already televised this portion of it, so I'm pretty sure that the remainder of it would be televised. I will say that it was very scary when Grandma read out that telephone number.
Yeah.
When Grandma read out that telephone number, because there's so much that can happen with a telephone number, and we don't know who that is attached to.
It seemed they should have beeped that part out. I know it was live, so it couldn't, but.
Well, the defense attorney eventually got a handle on it and basically said, hey, write it down. Don't say it and put it on the record. And so even though I believe the defense ended up getting the judge to rule on striking the telephone number from the record, I mean, we all heard it.
Right. Everybody heard that. Why did Yella Beezy not take the affidavit serious?
See, man, that's one of the things I always have a concern. And I think we talked about this the first time I came home, about your demeanor and your appearance in front of a judge and what you should wear in front of a judge.
Right.
We talked about that. Your demeanor in front of a judge and what you wear. I mean, some judges are very acute or very sensitive to the movements from defendants during certain parts of a hearing or a trial. So the puckering of the lips, the rolling of an eye, the looking away, all of that is paid attention, because if people are saying something that doesn't bother you, then you don't flinch.
Right. And I think it was something he was supposed to write down or something.
No, they were talking about the accounts. And I think watch this, me reading what she read from him and what she was telegraphing is that when they started talking about 500, 200,000, 500 in savings, 200 in checking, he might have made the face like that ain't what I really have. I got more than that. You know what I'm saying? And she might have taken it as that. And that's one of the reasons why she stated that she didn't go lower than the 750,000.
Right. So in his case, how is his emotion should have been? Because say, if I'm Yella Beezy and I feel though I'm innocent, I might want to get upset, like I might feel a certain type of way when the prosecutor is saying all these crazy things to me. So why, how are you supposed to be in that situation?
If something is said that is, and this is just, I want to give away all my tactics, but if it's something that you feel like you just absolutely are about to make a face, I'll tell my client to lean over and act like they're telling me something in my ear. That way they can get through the whole facial expression part of it and turn back around, because nobody's going to penalize you for talking to your attorney, right? You've seen it. Witnesses up there, and then the client goes, right?
Right.
Kind of get that through, because your demeanor can lose you a case. I tried a case once in which I felt like I was killing it. And this is when I learned this lesson. The bailiff came up to me during the break and was like, "Hey man, your client killing you." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "Every time the officers say anything, he back there making noises, going head dropping back." And so judges and juries pay attention to your body language.
Right.
Sit there, hands on the table or underneath the table, eyes forward, looking attentive, and just bounce your head or just don't move.
With him saying yes, ma'am, and all that helps.
Yes.
Right.
Because at that point, he looked like what his grandma said, church boy.
Right. Okay. So how could he afford the star lawyer? He has the guy that got off Geiger.
That's a good question, man. Because of this is a murder for hire or capital murder case. I know his attorney is one of those attorneys who is appointed to these cases, and because it is such a high level case, the courts may have saw fit to appoint this attorney to him. Because if he was retained, I'm pretty sure the state would have used that during this bond hearing.
Right.
And so a lot of times you can get lucky,
Right.
right? You can get lucky and have a court appointed attorney.
But this high level of a court appointed attorney, that can happen sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny. Back when I did more criminal work, and back when I did appointments, I don't do appointments. I was doing appointments. I had a court appointed a guy to me, and he was complaining. He was on the jail chain, and so he was complaining that he didn't want any court appointed attorneys. There was another guy inside the back with him, and he was like, "Man, shut your mouth, because if you was free, you couldn't afford them,
Right.
and because you got them, you in good shape." And so, it just depends. There are a lot of really good. I ain't gonna say that. That's not true. I haven't lied to you guys yet. I'm not gonna start lying now. There are a number of really good court appointed attorneys, and so sometimes you just get lucky and you get one. But back when there was more freedom for judges to appoint attorneys in cases that they knew were going to be troubled, they would appoint attorneys who were really good in that area.
Will he go as hard knowing that he's not going to get paid as much?
Hey, you're gonna get paid. You're gonna get paid. Now, you might not get free world, buddy.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You might, but he gonna get paid. I mean, he gonna get paid well enough. Well, let me say this: he gonna get paid well enough that he showed up today.
Can judges hold grudges against the prosecutors and stuff? Will they do that?
Brother, look, I'm just gonna say this: are people people?
People are people.
Okay.
Right, that makes sense. Should Yella Beezy be worried?
Dude, you facing capital murder. Yeah, you should be worried. I mean, weren't you worried when you had to go to the principal office?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was terrified. But if I know I didn't do anything,
Man, come on. It's the system is still the system.
the system is still the system.
I mean, ain't nothing changed. It ain't like it's not like he's gonna get exonerated.
Right.
Right? So, man, you got a lot to worry about.
So say he was to beat the trial. Does this follow you? Like murder for hire? Did that just mess this whole thing up?
Yes. So and the one thing I love about this program is that we've talked about a number of things that I can always go back and refer
Right.
to people so that they can watch it again.
Right.
And I told you guys, you can get picked up for a drug case. And if you don't get that drug case expunged, if it was dismissed, every time that you get stopped and they run your license, that pops up. And when an officer sees that, he's going to automatically feel like he has reasonable suspicion to start searching and looking around your car.
And Larry, you can help people with that, right?
We can help people with
Yeah.
that. We can help people with that.
I'm a witness. All right. Let's play bad lawyer, good lawyer.
All right.
Okay. Well, let's see. All right. If you're Yella Beezy
Mm-hmm.
right now, what is your defense?
I didn't do it. I didn't call anyone. I didn't pay anyone. I didn't offer to pay anyone. And this is where it gets funny, right? If I say that I have a grudge against someone in a room full of people, and I'm like, man, something should happen to him. I didn't tell anyone that something should happen to him. And somebody decides to go out and do it without my knowledge, or without my direct understanding that they were going to go ahead and do something. Can I really be held responsible for that?
Well, I'm the lawyer. I'm the other lawyer. Hey, no, we have records of you calling. You withdraw $40,000. You knew what you were doing.
Okay. I withdrew $5,000. I ain't put a hit on nobody.
But your songs, your music.
Okay. I mean, I sung That Used to Be My House by, was it Tim McGraw or Garth Brooks on the way here? But I ain't go kidnap no dog or run my car through nobody's house. So, I mean, the song talks about that. I sang about it. Doesn't mean I went out and did it. And yes, I listen to country music too.
Okay. I'm not a prosecutor. So.
No, but I mean, it's just one of those things, and we talked about it, that music has been allowed. Excuse me, music has been allowed by the government to prosecute. It was done in Fort Worth a couple of years ago, in order to prosecute rappers or people or basically rappers, and I think it's unjust for them to be able to do that. At the same time, I think you need to stop wrapping stories so close to what you are accused of or what you may have been involved in, or people think you're involved in.
This is where we're at now, Larry.
Yeah, you don't do that, right?
It feels so real though. It's like,
man, look here.
That's why it's like we want so. It's like we want that the viewer we want to hear something real. I'm speaking for the people.
Slick Rick had a song about kidnapping about 5 people and shooting an officer in the stomach.
Right.
Did that really happen?
But it's like now it's like it has to happen because we've seen people actually do these things and then they rap about. So you're not a real rapper unless you really are doing these things.
You need to find a new audience.
Right.
You need to find a new audience.
But that's not gangster rap.
I mean, NWA, I think, started gangster rap, or at least one of the architects of gangster rap.
Definitely.
And so
they were really like, fuck the police though.
But at the same time, well, I can't say that because I grew up in Houston with the Ghetto Boys, and I'm pretty sure that song "Read My Nike" by Willie D actually happened over there in Homestead. But man, you shouldn't necessarily rap about things so close to you, especially if it involves law enforcement.
Should Yella Beezy he should have went in to the police and said my life is in danger, and then he could have carried out the hit. Is that a thing?
we talked about this before, and we kind of got hit on the comments about the whole excuse me, self-defense.
Right.
It's not necessarily self-defense, but it's the mind state
Right.
of where you are at the time. If someone is saying they're going to come, watch this. If someone says they're going to come in here and kill everybody, and we know it's the guy in the apartment complex in Plano, in 501 in Plano, and he's on TV making threats, talking about it, saying stuff that's too close to the home, saying your kid's school and putting it in his raps. And this is all you're hearing, and people have constantly, and now, I mean, you can actually make the argument that I'm in fear of my life.
Right.
And it's more a protective measure than me just wanting to go out and get this person. And so that's potentially a that's something that you could get the jury thinking about, so that if in case the worst scenario happens, you won't necessarily get punished as hard as you could, because there will be some empathy as to your situation. So it's not a self-defense defense, but it is programming the jury to understand that if you find that I did what they said I did, then you also have something to say, the rationale and reason why I did it.
Yeah, because Mo3's cousin, the dude, came on the couch and said basically that it's do or die. Because if you didn't do nothing, then they were gonna do it to you.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
And some people might not be built as such to go out there and handle them themselves, so they need other people for protection. Could that be a thing?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Right. I mean, look, the guy got shot. So whoever, man, I'm not saying, man, if you're making threats that you'll shoot someone and then I get shot, that shows me that you mean what you say.
I had to ask you a question because the dude said this, and I didn't know if this was true or not, but so just tell me if this is true.
All right.
If we both agree to fight outside,
mutual combat.
Yeah, is that the real thing?
It's a real thing.
Oh wow, I did not know that's a real thing. So
it's a caveat to that.
Okay, tell me the caveat.
Police the winner always goes to jail.
Oh, the winner goes to jail.
Winner goes to jail. I've had 2 cases in which a smaller guy either broke the jaw or just knocked the hell out of a bigger person.
Right.
Everyone knows, and including in the police affidavit, the bigger guy was the aggressor. But they always go to the point, you used too much force. I had a guy, he was maybe 120 pounds. 250-pound linebacker came at him. Man, he hit that linebacker, stunned him. Dude hit the ground. He got on top of the guy and without thinking, just started punching. Because his adrenaline was going. He was afraid. Like, I hit this guy, I got him stunned, but if he recovers,
it's over for me.
It's over for me. Right? And I always find that funny, because a police officer can shoot you, tase you, and beat you under the guise that they're afraid for their lives. And it's 3 of them and just 1 of you.
Right.
And so the average citizen can't be afraid for their life. And they have no training in de-escalation. They have no training in weaponry. They sometimes have no training in self-defense or in combat. And somehow they are charged with the crime.
Yes.
Food for thought.
Right.
Y'all chew on that in the comments.
Will the police let you sit out there and fight if we say, "Hey, we're doing this"?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's
No.
what I was thinking.
No.
Like.
No.
I was like, "Yeah,
Nah, bro. This is
I challenge you to combat, Mortal Kombat."
nah. They're not. It ain't no theme music being played.
Yeah.
It ain't no ring that automatically pop up.
See,
Nah.
that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, bro, I could go out there and ask niggas for fades and it's all good.
No, because it's still a form of disturbing the peace. But because you're causing.
But what if we go somewhere and we're like, you meet me at my house?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No. It's not. I'm not in the police know about it. Right.
Okay. Celebrity fights, okay. Right.
If it's really a fight.
Right. Okay.
You know, sometimes you have celebrities who go like this and then pull back.
Right. Right. Okay. What is your thoughts about the prosecutor?
Tommy, I mean, he's someone who has an understanding of the rap culture.
Okay.
So he's not going to be completely oblivious to it. And you saw how he kind of used the armored vehicle as or weaponized that against Beezy during the hearing. So he understands the culture. He understands what happens. Like he kept saying, multi-platinum artist. How can you be broke and be a multi-platinum artist? How would you know that you can't be broke and be a multi-platinum artist unless you have some kind of understanding of the industry and what that really means? And so he has a good understanding of, and just his career has a good understanding of the rap culture.
You think he's doing a good job?
I think he did what his job entails he does.
So, good lawyer, bad lawyer. How would you have prosecuted Yella Beezy?
Probably would have had some more updated statements, bank statements. But then again, excuse me, might not want to play his hand. It might be tied to something else. Right. So a lot of times you can't really hide evidence, but you can strategically decide when you present it. And this case is a long way from going to trial.
Years.
Possibly.
Right.
Possibly.
Do you see other people getting arrested?
Man, yeah. I mean, we talked about it last time. Anytime you have something like this, unless it's contained between the shooter and Beezy.
Right, because they said there's somebody else on the payment, right?
So you'll see.
Do they know?
I'm sure they know something, or feel like they know, or been told something.
So the feds could be watching this, or are watching this.
I'm sure they are. They always watch high profile cases. You think about it. Puff Daddy.
Yeah. I think we should all go back and start dancing and jigging and shit again. I think instead of this violent wave,
Look, man.
Shout out to Johnny Damn D.
Everybody just needs to find a way to be happy, man. Right. And let life live. I think that's huge, especially in this city. I mean, we're not that far apart. Fort Worth is not that far from Dallas. GP ain't that far from Oak Cliff.
Right.
West Dallas, not that far from Plano. From Plano.
Right.
So we just need to find a way to let everybody live.
Definitely. Is there any last words you would like to tell the fans?
Follow me on tailor-made conversations. Go to tailormadelaw.com to find all of our social media handles and join us. We have some great guests. We had one of the greatest podcasters in the nation on, Angel White. She came down to really explain relationships. Our podcast is more geared toward politics, relations, and fashion. I love fashion. Um, I really love fashion. And so um, just join us and take a listen and really get a feel for both kind of a lighter side of things in dealing with the community, but at the same time, serious and educational. A lot of people, we got a podcast with Senator West where we talk about the funding of a lot of the projects that you see, schools, and things of that nature. And so understand how politics affect you personally.
Now you heard him. He said he loves fashion. So if you got a suit company you want to sponsor or something like that, you know what I'm saying? You know where to find him.
Yes, I love fashion way too much, but I kind of got my start in fashion.
Well, Larry, man, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the update, and can't wait to see you back.
Man, can't wait to be back. And so I'm gonna bring a couple of shirts by here, get some real life lawyer shirts, and so the street stars will figure out how they gonna hand those out to the people. So make sure you comment and make sure you contact and follow these brothers.
Real life.